what year did the Pope put out the call?
That's where we're going right now. So on November 27th, Pope Urban issues the call for the first crusade at the Council of Clermont in France. And basically, this is a reaction to him discovering that all of the original Christian communities in the Levant are being wiped out by the Fatimid Caliphate. They've gone in and they're just obliterating 1,000 years of Christianity, which clearly for the Pope,
genocide
Urban at the time, yeah, genocide. Who knew? Exactly.
Now, listen, I'm going to be honest.
Yep.
Christians are just as guilty of doing that as well. I mean, Christianity. Oh yeah. We went berserk during the Crusades, and a lot of people.
There was never any specific genocide committed by the Crusades.
Well, when they took over,
there were mass slaughters. There were some mass. That's why we're here today. That's why we're here today. The only group that has engaged in deliberate, calculated, planned, and articulated genocide of the three major religions, the only group that has planned military-based genocides has been Islam.
Well, World War II, there were Christians on the German side, so that happened.
Why do you keep arguing for this?
I'm just saying, we're all evil, hairless monkeys.
Okay, I need you. Yes, okay. But you are conflating a war with a deliberate planned genocide using military forces. They're not the same thing.
Fair enough. Agree to disagree. Okay, move along.
That's fine. Because you had Germans fighting against Germans in World War II. There are plenty of German Americans on the American side.
Yeah.
At any rate, in this case, the Muslims were in fact committing genocide all through the Levant. Pope Urban makes the call on November 27th, 1095, when a bizarre thing happens. In the spring of 1096, this guy who is an itinerant monk from the city of Amiens in France, and he's just a preacher. Amiens is north of Paris by about 200, 300 miles. He's inspired by Pope Urban's call at Clermont. He becomes one of the earliest and most vocal, popular recruiters for the crusade. Now, this guy's just a wandering bum pastor. He's like the street guy. The end is coming! That guy in the corner.
The guy sitting on a box.
That's the one. Yeah. That's Peter.
Repent. Yeah, I got you.
Exactly, that guy.
I've walked by hundreds of those guys in my lifetime.
Yes. Yep. And in different countries, preaching different shit.
Oh, yeah.
That's the best part. But they're always there. They are always there. They have them in Korea, too. So Peter the Hermit, he preached across France and Germany. He drew a lot of crowds. He gave attention for charismatic appeals to piety and urging people's immediate action to liberate Jerusalem. Now, you have to remember that the average person at that time, their only source of news would be announcements by the Lord or the king or what they hear in church. They didn't really have newspapers. Those newspapers did exist, but nowhere near in the sense that we have them today.
I don't know if they had a printing press back then.
They had handwritten newspapers. I've seen them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had handbills. It was like a page.
Yes.
And it would say so-and-so at this city, a thing happened. And then there was a flood here and, just little blurbs, but they did exist to a degree, nowhere near what we have today. So anyway, Peter the Hermit gets this wild hair up his ass and he goes across France and Germany. And finally he starts to raise his own fucking army. And he got an army raised before the Knights and Lords managed to raise the first crusade. So his army mostly consisted of like peasants, poor townsfolk, and a couple of minor knights and adventurers. I'm a 17-year-old kid in France, and I've heard all these tales of knights and everything. All of a sudden, there's this army walking through Where are you going? Jerusalem. What are you going to do there? We're going to kill the heretic. Well, dude, I'm in. And, adventure, straight up freaking.
When you're 18 years old, you're living on a farm.
Yep.
You see how your father and grandfather have lived. And you're like, do I really want to do this until I'm fucking old, or do I want to do something else? And somebody walks up and says, hey, we're going to go to the Holy Land and kick some ass. You're like, okay. You set down your bucket, you pick up a spear, and away you go.
To roll the real geek dice here, this is where all good Dungeons and Dragons adventures start you as a 0 level fighter.
That's right.
And now you've got a quest. So this group of peasants, townfolk, minor knights, and adventurers, Peter the Hermit leads them along with a knight called Walter Sans Avoir, which means the guy who has nothing. Translated roughly as Walter the Penniless, and some other lesser nobles. They began moving east in the spring of 1096, months before the main armies were ever even ready. So they journey through the Rhineland, and some of the bands engage in violent attacks on little villages and stuff because they don't have any supplies or weapons or anything. So as they're going along, they start raiding.
Well, they also wreaked havoc on Jewish populations along the way as well.
They did go after some of the Jewish populations. Now, as to why, they didn't just randomly attack those. That doesn't make sense.
They needed shit. I mean,
they did that too. They raided, but that's a rabbit hole. That's a rabbit hole because I want to get to the Crusade part of the story here. Yes, those things did happen.
Yeah,
but there's more to it than they just went, oh, look, Jewish people, let's kill them. That's not what happened. Did it happen? Yes, but it requires further context. So anyway, they go through Hungary and the Balkans, and they face a bunch of hardships from lack of supplies. And the thing that every army needs, discipline.
Which they probably didn't have.
Didn't have very much discipline. So they get to Constantinople in late July or August of 1096. So it's taken them months to get where they're going, which makes sense. They didn't have trains back then or airlift. Yeah. Yep. Even if they had donkey carts, you're still talking about a top speed of 5 miles an hour.
Yeah. You're
for any period of time.
You're doing between 20 and 50 miles a day. Yeah. If you're on foot, maybe 30 a day.
When I was at my peak, I could ruck 5 miles an hour for a period of time. My normal pace was about 3.5 or 4.
Yeah. And if you walk 10 hours a day, that's 30 miles.
Now, there are stories of, and I'll tell this at a later time, but because it's a really good fucking story, when Julius Caesar chased the German king Ariovistus and his forces back to the Rhine, the motherfuckers both armies ran 30 miles and then had a battle.
Nice.
That's some badass shit. Anyway, Peter the Hermit's army gets to Constantinople, and remember, this is the beginning of the First Crusade, is this ragtag band of misfits led by the corner preacher. So they didn't have any real military leadership or supplies, but they went toward Nicaea anyway, which was across the, let's get back over to here, bring this thing back up. Where is that map? This one here. This is the map we need. Now, see the top red line? Danube, the Belgrade, Sofia, that's Hungary, and all that, Adrianople and Constantinople. And right across that strait right there, right across that strait is Nicaea, and that is modern Turkey. Modern Turkey actually extends over into Constantinople in that area now. But at the time, that was a stronghold of the Seljuks, who were the precursors of the Turks.
Uh-huh.
And they get to Nicaea, and they're like, let's do it. Well, that's
getting slaughtered.
Yeah.
They got murked.
They got the whole army got completely murked, except for Peter, who returns to Constantinople before the disaster strikes and survives. In other words, he ran. But Peter the Hermit later rejoins the first main crusade, but without any independent command of his own. He just goes along as a wandering itinerant holy man. So this guy, a street preacher, raised an army of ne'er-do-wells, rabblers, and adventurers, and fought the first battle of the crusade. Well, didn't fight the first battle of the crusade, more provided the shredding material for the first battle of the crusade.
Yeah, because they got thwarted hard.
Yes. Yeah, the Seljuk Turks just completely destroyed them. There were none of them left, and Peter went back to Constantinople, and I read one of the letters at one point in time. Basically, the content of the letter was Peter saying, well, yeah, they kind of all died, so I came back before it actually happened. So
yeah,
the guy was a dick.
Well, here's the thing.
That's a dick move. He abandoned his forces in the field and let them get mowed down.
Correct. But you're literally taking a ragtag force into somebody's backyard.
Yes.
They know the terrain. They know the environment.
Yes.
And they've been waging war for hundreds of years. And you show up with a bunch of undisciplined rabble rousers.
Right.
You're going to get your clock cleaned, and that's the way it works.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, that is exactly what happened.
They got their asses kicked.
Yes. So the Romans had control, by the way, of the Levant from 63 BC. And they held it all the way through 476 when the Western Empire fell, and then the Byzantines took it over.
So no. When all of Rome fell and it split in half, and the Byzantines took that half over.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be correct.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporters Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the Meat Gazer box.